Damarian, a fellow BIPOC person. What's up, Damarian?
How's it going?
You sound like a
Can you?
white man. I'm a little confused.
No, I'm black.
Oh
I just
shit.
grew up in
What's
a
up? What's up, my
way.
man? What's up, my brother?
So I just wanted to ask you a quick question. So I'm
Hold
wanting
on,
to
hold on.
be.
I'm only taking questions today. I'm not taking questions.
There you go.
Go
Ask you a
ahead.
quick question.
Go ahead.
So you believe in the creationist view, and that basically is held up because you believe that there is no death before the fall, right?
That's one reason, but yes.
Okay, so I kind of have an issue with that only because I am considering to be Orthodox. Like I go to the Orthodox church.
Mhm.
I'm a catechumen and everything like that.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering, is that like a dogma type of thing? Is that like you have to believe this to be Orthodox? Because I'm under kind of like an Adamite view of things in this, or no, that's not
Adamite.
Adamite. No, not Adamite, not Adamite. I'm under the view of looking at the science, seeing that maybe things were actually happening for billions of years, and that animal death did occur, but not in the same way that we view human death after the fall, because it actually encompasses multiple different factors.
I don't even know what that means, but I mean Romans 8 says that death came through Adam, so it doesn't distinguish
Right.
animal death, natural death, creation death.
Okay. So to that, I would ask you a question. If Adam and Eve didn't partake of the tree of life at all, what would happen to their bodies? Would they cease? Because to my understanding, it's through the energies of grace, through the communion of the tree of life, that they receive that form of immortality during that time, right?
Well, the tree of life is an image that points to Christ himself. Christ is the actual tree of life. So the only way to be
Right.
made immortal is not from a tree, it's from actually partaking of the life that the Son of God has. And so in the Orthodox view, if you read the book Deification in Christ by Panagiotis Nellis, he points out that man was always made to be made immortal and to participate in the image of Christ. So he's made after the image of Jesus. And so Adam is a type of Jesus precisely because Jesus is the pattern of Adam. So from that perspective, creation has always been Christological. All the created order was about Christ from the very beginning. So it's not a plan B. It's not possible, like Thomas think, that God could have incarnated as a donkey or anything like that. It has to be the way that he chose to become man so that he could restore our nature. But even if we had not fallen, there was still going to be an incarnation according to the Eastern Church Fathers. So death, from our perspective, is not natural. It's an unnatural thing that invaded through the serpent and through Adam and Eve's failure. So it was never the tree that was going to make them immortal. It was the energies of Christ the entire time. So had they not fallen, they still would have been made immortal through the divine energies of the Son of God.
Right, I understand that. And I understand that, like, there's a symbolic sense to the tree of life and how it represents Christ, everything like that. What I'm more asking of is that they had an active choice to partake in the tree of life. Like, this wasn't something that was forced upon them. And because of that factor, you have to consider what would have happened if they didn't and didn't go outside of the bounds of sinning per se, if you get what I mean. And so I'm basically asking, was there a biological death in store for them had they not partaken of the tree of life,
No.
which is understood to be Christ?
No, there's no death at all because all death, decay, entropy, etc., entered through the sin of Adam. Adam is the steward of creation. So when he fell, the metaphysics of the entire universe shifted. It affected everything. It's not just a moral thing. It's a universal metaphysical scope to the fall, and that's unique to Orthodoxy. The other traditions teach that the fall was a mere moral failing or some spiritual failing and didn't really affect things in some sort of metaphysical scope. But if you read Genesis, Creation, Early Man by Seraphim Rose, you'll see how vast in scope and cosmic in scope the fall was, such that even nature itself changed. So animals began to be predatory. Animals weren't predatory. There weren't mosquitoes sucking blood prior to the fall. So we have a very different cosmic scope to the fall, and that's why the incarnation is equally cosmic in scope. So Christ redeems and restores and transfigures the entire universe, because Adam destroyed the entire universe, you see. In the Roman Catholic and Protestant schemes, it's really just this moral or spiritual individual kind of thing that happened.
Okay. And I just want to like ask another clarification, because I understand what you're saying.
But what I'm saying, okay, and I'm saying that theologically, and we can talk about the problems with like observing millions of years and all that with the theory, the philosophy of science itself. That's a separate point. But if you understand, if you read the Saint Maximus book about on the cosmic redemption of Christ, you'll notice that it's only cosmic in scope because of the fall and Adam's actions being cosmic in scope. And so if you start tinkering with the incarnation and its scope, it doesn't just affect the fall, it also affects the eschatology, because the two are linked. Because Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15 that the scope of Adam's sin is identical to the scope of Jesus's recapitulation. So if you mess up the scope of incarnation and the fall, you will by default mess up the scope of the recapitulation.
Okay. And so kind of what I'm trying to get to is like, I'm thinking of the moment of when Adam and Eve are created, right? And at this point, they aren't partaking in the tree of life, which understood as the energies and everything like that. From the worldview that you're saying, you would almost have to presuppose that they are receiving grace at this time because they're not having the choice to choose the tree of life. Basically, I'm just asking, like, what is the state of their being before they partook in the tree of life? Because my understanding is that before they partook, they would have surely been done away with, before that time, if they would have progressed without partaking, right? And this is pre-sin. And so that's kind of like the logical thing that keeps getting in my mind about that. I don't know if I'm wording it correctly.
I'm not understanding. I don't mean to be difficult. I just don't understand the I don't understand. Can you state it again or differently?
Okay. Yeah. So Adam and Eve are fashioned, right? And there is a state of being that they're in where they haven't partaken of the tree of life. And
they're in a mutable state, correct?
Okay, and I'm basically asking, what is that state of being defined as if the tree of life is considered to be the grace that gives them immortality? Does that mean that if they, like, in that state, are they, I'm not trying to say death, but like a biological decay in that sense? I don't know how else to put it.
The fact that they're in a mutable state morally has nothing to do with bodily physical decay. Well, why would there be? It seems like you're looking for a way to have theistic evolution meshed with, our view. But the problem is that the Council of Trullo and its canons teach that you cannot say that death existed before Adam fell. So.
Right, but I'm more focusing on like the importance of communion with God and what that looks like before they even partook of the tree of life. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Okay, but what does that have to do with like physical, biological death? I'm not getting.
Okay, so I'm just basically saying before they partook, was their state that they would live on regardless? So like this whole idea of death didn't exist, and so this almost presupposes that before they partook, even if they didn't partake outside of the bounds of like sin or whatever, they would be practically like, what is the state of their being? Like, that's what I'm basically trying to get at. Like in that moment in time,
we're just told that they're in a mutable state, which was subject to change. So they could have sinned and they could have not sinned. That's all we're told. But you're saying, well, could they have continued on indefinitely in that state? I don't know. We're not ever told that.
Okay. I mean, so if it doesn't state that, and if it's not very clear, doesn't that mean that there is room for speculation? I'm not trying to like.
No, look, let's just put it this way. I mean,
Yeah.
do any of the church fathers teach theistic evolution?
I mean, no, they don't teach theistic evolution, but there are church fathers. I think Basil the Great talked about how animals did have a mortal state
No.
before.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't say that?
He teaches 6-day creation. So have you read the Hexameron?
I have not.
Okay. So the whole Hexameron is 6-day creation. That's the whole purpose of it. So you're not going to find theistic evolution proof in him or Athanasius. When they talk about mortality, it's in the context of man's state and mode of being after the fall. He's not saying that animals were mortal before the fall. There is no death. Like there's no basis or reason to believe in any kind of death before the fall, and nobody teaches that. None of the church fathers teach that. So there is no basis for theistic evolution in the Orthodox view. Anyway, I appreciate your questions, but I mean, just take a look at First Created Man by Saint Simeon, and take a look at Genesis Creation Early Man by Father Seraphim Rose, and you're going to notice nobody has anything like theistic evolution. Now, maybe it's all wrong and theistic evolution is right, but if theistic evolution is right, Christianity is not right.